Do you remember when people used to catch crabs with trot lines, or was that before your
That
time?
was before my time.
Oh, okay. So
Crabbing never was a big thing around in this particular area right here. The best of my knowledge, Mr. Dowden Hooper and Abby Midget, they were the two people who first started doing a little bit of crabbing around here with the pies. But it was mainly fishing. Crabbing was a little bit on the slow side to catch on right in this area right here.
Okay, and was it fishing in the Sound or the ocean or both?
It was mainly the fishing in the Sound, and then it kind of ventured over to the ocean, with the dory fishing. That's what the guys around here would use for the ocean fishing, was the dories.
Right. Like for striped bass?
It would start out in the September, and they would fish for the spots, and then it would come into the speckled trout, fish for the speckled trout and the puppy drum.
Right.
And then in the wintertime for the stripers.
Oh.
Yeah.
Right.
Probably the best of my knowledge that I can recall, that I was probably one of the first ones in these villages around here that had what we call one of the drop net boats that fished in the ocean with, and that was like in 1979. I had that boat built.
Okay.
I fished it out of Organelle and Hatteras Island.
Is that the boats with the big spool in the
That's
back?
right. It's got the big reel.
Okay, so they're pretty popular now, aren't they?
Yeah, today they are, right. They're really popular today. But back in the 80s, I mean, I can remember when they would have a lot, say as far as 100 to 125 of those boats.
Wow.
Would be the fleet that would come over from Englehart, Stumpy Point, and then the guys from Hatteras, and then the guys from Rodanthe, when they would all kind of converge in Hatteras in the wintertime.
The Hatteras village.
That's where most of the boats would come at in the wintertime. The fishing up in out of Organelle, that's more or less just kind of took a hold in the last, say, maybe about 15 to 20 years, where the drop net boats just took a hold up there. Hatteras is where really the drop net boats started out at.
Now, when you were commercial fishing, is that where you kept your boat in Hatteras?
Yes, I did keep my boat. I had a JC boat made in 1979 up in Camden, New Hampshire, and that's exactly what I had that boat for. Was made for to do the drop net.
Okay.
And I ran that boat down from Hampton, Virginia, down to Wanchese, and fished it just for a short period of time out of Wanchese. And the boats were small. The drop net fleet was small, and you kind of know that usually the prevailing wind up in the fall of year is these northwest and northeast winds, which it made it kind of rough up on the north side.
And how many feet were these boats about?
These boats here were anywhere from like 26 to 31, 35 feet boat back in those days.
Okay.
And then as the years went by, things started, everybody wanted to get a big boat, the faster boat, the faster boat. So today, they've got a fleet of boats in the 45 to 50 foot class, and mostly all glass boats.
You were one of the first to do drop netting?
I was one of the first ones to do drop netting in the Rodanthe ways in south of this village here. Had a boat.
And where'd you get the idea?
Well, I used to go down to Hatteras, and I would see 2 or 3 of the local guys. They would have the wooden boats down there, and they would be out there fishing, drop netting, and I would watch it when they come in the afternoons and stuff like that. And I was dory fishing with a dory on the beach.
Right.
And they were just catching so many more fish than I was. I said, well, it's time to do something a little different.
Right.
And at that time, Sea Grant had took what we call a gill net reel today, and this reel has a hydraulics onto it that runs off the motor that pulls the net in. And Sea Grant had one of those gill net reels, and it was jumping around from one of Captain Arnold Foster's boats that Big Bill was running to some other boat down there. I don't remember exactly what other. So I happened to see that gill net reel, and I said, man, that's got to be the ticket.
Right. Wow.
So started inquiring around and looking into the National Fisherman, and I found out out in Washington State, they made those gill net reels. So when I went up in New Hampshire to have my boat built, we called out there and found out a little bit about the gill net reel, so I was able to buy one from out in Washington State and have it shipped up to New Hampshire and had it put on my boat up there.
And that was different from what the Hatteras guys were using?
The Hatteras guys at that time, everybody was pulling back by hand. There was only one gill net reel down there, and that's the one that Sea Grant had. Sea Grant had bought one of these reels from somebody, and they had it in Hatteras Village.
All right. Wow. So then you really started a trend.
Right.
We all have them, right?
Exactly right. When my boat come into Wanchese, it was like a gathering in the afternoons when I come in for fishing. People coming in to take a look at the gill net reel plus the stern roller that I had custom made for that boat. And then when I went to Hatteras, I mean, they had seen that gill net reel before, but this here was a real nice gill net reel made out of fiberglass that I had, and it held probably maybe about 2,000 yards of net in the net that we used in the ocean.
Right.
And it really worked good. So that kind of got the guys looking around. You got there, and everybody would be straining, two guys straining to pull back the nets by hand, have a lot of fish in them, and the old gill net reel just sitting there doing all the work.
Yeah.
So then everybody started thinking, hey, maybe I can build some of these gill net reels. So some of the local guys, like Jeff Oden and a couple of the other guys, they started building those gill net reels, making them out of wood. And they'd have a chain that you'd have to take off and on, and it was just to make a makeshift rig.
Yeah.
But today, this drop net fleet that we have here in Dyer County, or they all also come from over to the mainland. We have a good, nice drop net fleet.